Dr. Wood, author of the book Miracles in Minutes. And the title of this video is Keeping Your Eyes on the Ball and Swimming Across the Ocean. Both of them are metaphors. So, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you have a vision, if you have a dream, you have high aspirations, then you need to understand a couple of concepts. One is to keep your eyes on the ball or on the prize, on your goal. And the other one is to learn how to swim across the ocean. And what am I talking about? Well, one of them, a book that I read, is called The Dip, written by Seth Godin. So you start out and it's knowing when to quit and when to stick it out. So you start out, you have all these dreams, they're in your ideas in your head, and you want to start out, and you get, a little bump here in the beginning, and then you usually go into this big trough. It's a big trough, and then you got to climb this steep hill to get to the top of the mountain. See, success isn't easy. To reach the highest mountain peak, very few people have climbed Mount Everest. Very few people make it into the 10% for a reason. It's because it's hard. It's really hard, and to get there, you have to become something more than what you are. And you have to move past all your comfort zones. You have to keep going when nothing good is happening. And sometimes there's a time to quit, but some people quit too soon. I'll just talk about a couple of different people who reached those goals. One could be Einstein. So here he was, growing up as a child. I don't think he did well in school. He also was told he was stupid. He also, when he wrote his theory on relativity, he produced 4 or 5 big papers, and it landed in the world of physics with tweet, tweet to silence. Nobody was patting him on the back, and nobody was jumping up and down. In actuality, what he faced was massive criticism. Most of the physicists at that time didn't buy into his theories and thought it was all bullshit. You could also think about Galileo. Here's a guy who says that the sun is the center of the universe, or this solar system, and everyone at the time says no, the earth is, including the Pope. Massive resistance. Ain't nobody jumping up and down with his breakthrough, his observation, the same one that Copernicus had. So how do you then there's Steve Jobs. Here he is. He starts Apple Computer. He dropped out of college. Followed his passion, followed his dreams. Dropped out of college and dropped in classes he wanted to take and followed his heart, and built up Apple Computers. And then at its height, he got fired. He got fired from the company he created. Talk about a punch in the face. Here's the company that you created, and now you're kicked out of the company that you founded. Well, there's hard times, and he came back, and he took Apple when it was near the bottom and brought it back to the Apple that is today. And of course, Steve Jobs deceased. So I'm going to help you understand the walk through the desert. It's almost like a metaphor of the Israelites were in captivity. They were in Egypt. They were taken care of. They got something to eat, guaranteed food every day, hard conditions, but had a place to live, guaranteed food. But their taskmasters were hard on them. Everyone's sort of a slave to some degree until you reach freedom. And then they had to walk through the desert to get to the promised land. Where you are, where you want to be. And there's always the great divide, this desert that you have to walk through. Whether if you're not Jewish or not, if you want to be successful, there's where you are and there's where you want to be, and there's a great division between this and that. Few people make it to the promised land. Even all the Israelites that crossed the desert, most of them died in the desert. Only 2 of the originals, Joshua and Caleb, made it in. And it was their offspring that made it to the promised land, and it didn't come for free. They had to fight for it. Inch by inch, step at a time, little bits and pieces, they moved further into the promised land. Okay? So what do you do, because, we all like feedback. Everybody likes a pat on the back. And when you walk down this path, it's like I think it was Robert Frost talked about, you know, two paths diverge in a wood, and I took the one least traveled. So the path to success is least traveled. And even the biblical phrase is the broad is the way that leads to destruction, and narrow is the path that leads to heaven. So few people are on the path to success, and the reason is it's not easy. And you don't get any instant gratification up front. You have to keep walking anyway, in spite of circumstances, in spite of conditions, in spite of people looking at you like you're crazy. Einstein, they thought he was crazy. Beethoven, they thought he was crazy. Da Vinci, another guy they thought was crazy. Even Darwin, you know, one of the books I read was Mastery by Robert Greene, talked about Darwin's story. His father had him set up to become a physician. He didn't want to do it. He flunked out. It's not what he wanted to do. So what his dad wanted him to do, it's not what he wanted to do. Then he's like, shit, my son's a screw up. You know, he's screwing up his life. Had him got into Oxford Medical School, and he's failing out. So another great job would be to be into the church. So Darwin's father got him a chance to be into the Anglican Church, and he would have had a great life. And Darwin followed his heart, and I'm sure that didn't go over well. So what do you do when you're walking this path? You feel because you will be all alone. You're not getting any positive feedback. Everything you're doing is not working, and you're getting nothing but negative feedback. All your friends and family go, what the hell are you doing? What you're pursuing may not look like it's happening, and how do you keep going? So I'm going to read a poem, and it's a great poem by Mother Teresa. It's one of my favorites. And it goes like this. People are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you're kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you're honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. Give the best you have, and it'll never be enough. Give your best anyway. And the final analysis is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. So what does this poem talk about? It's oftentimes we do things to get others to validate us, ourselves, which is external, motives of strength. And we're looking for other people to pat us on the back, a good jolly-o or whatever, or tell us sweet things in our ear to make us feel good about ourselves. But see, what happens is when you walk the path, the road that diverged in the wood, the one least traveled, is you're out there by yourself. And what you learn to listen to is yourself. That you no longer need others to build you up. You stop becoming needy, needing other people to make you feel good about yourself. And even your own successes or failures, that those don't define you anymore. This is what happens on the road least traveled. You can get discouraged. That's why I read this poem. Because you have to understand what this trail looks like. That's why most people turn around and go back. Because they're not getting anything. There's no rewards happening like right away. Remember the book, The Dip? The Israelites walked across the desert. There's no rewards. There's no water here. I don't see any water. Water shows up. There's no food here. It came down from the heavens. It comes from places you can't see. See, that's called faith. Faith is walking forward into the unknown and going anyway, in spite of circumstances, in spite of conditions, and continue to walk anyway. That's how you swim across the ocean. This is how you make it there. It's not easy. You will have good days. You will have bad days. You may have a lot of bad days. People hate you. People look at you like you're crazy. However, it's always, even J.K. Rowling, the creator of the Harry Potter series, I listened to her commencement speech, And it is an incredible speech. And she talks about what she learned on her path. And, you know, she was at the lowest poverty place you could be in modern day England. And, but she would go to the library and she would write her stories. And that pain of not having a lot triggered her to write and create the Harry Potter stories. And she talks about in the commencement speech that everybody thinks it just happened overnight. It doesn't. See, what the TV and the news doesn't tell you is most people who reach the top of the mountain, it was a long, hard road. And they don't show you how hard it is. They just show you the mountaintop experience. They didn't show you when the person was, you know, like even the story of Sylvester Stallone. You know, the Rocky movie, he was broke. He didn't have any heat in his apartment. And he sold his wife's jewelry. He even sold his dog, the one that's in the movie Rocky. And he had to, half the money that he got from his front out, he had to use to buy his dog back that he was in the movie and give the guy a part in the movie. Tony Robbins talks about it. So these are interesting stories. And the reason why I read these stories is that way, when you're following the path of your heart, you don't get discouraged when you're walking down the trail. It's a hard trail. But what happens is you develop that strength and the courage. And when you get to the other side, you have the wisdom to actually deal with success. See, most people think they can handle success. Actually, it's easier to handle poverty or easier to handle being a slave, because when you become successful, you have to make a lot bigger decisions, and you have to be careful of people trying to manipulate you to use you and ride your coattail for their own benefit. So a lot of rich people today are some of the, like Warren Buffett, when he dies, he's not giving hardly any money to his kids. And some people go, well, aren't you supposed to? No, because if you give all your money away to your kids, it seems like that's the loving thing to do. But what happens is they never develop themselves, and they always rely on mommy and daddy. And what happens is they never become their best self, because they know they have a safety net. They don't have to try anything, and they'll just coast through life. And most of those people wind up on drugs or, you know, some addiction, or they run around partying all the time, and they're not even contributing anything to society. And then they have depression, anxiety, and a lot of other issues because they never find out who they are, which is one of the main things why you're here. Who are you? And the second one is, what's your purpose? It's not to sit around the beach and sip margaritas all day long. You know, most people sell a company and, you know, hit the $1 million status or multi-million or $1 billion status. They sit on the beach for about 3 months and they get bored. What happens is they go back to work, because that's where you serve. You can serve in many forms of capacity. So it's Dr. Wood, and it's keeping your eye on the ball and swimming across the ocean. And I just want you to understand what the trail looks like, so that way you don't get discouraged, and you can read the book Mastery by Robert Greene, and you'll have a better understanding of it. You can YouTube it. I did. I think it's a 10-hour long video on YouTube, but you can hear the whole book in its entirety of how Da Vinci, Napoleon, and I believe Darwin, I can't remember who else, these masters who became masters, what their trail looked like, so that way you don't get discouraged along the way. Dr. Wood, hope this helps you.